Hello there, anatomy and physiology students. It's me, Mrs. Lindy. And I just wanted to chat with you for a minute about our notes and how those work. So in class, I gave you a notes template. This is what I typically do for notes, so you don't have to write down 5 million things, but you'll see that there's blanks periodically, and so I just ask you to fill those in as we go through the presentation. Now, these are your notes, so please use them to your advantage. So if that means you highlight, if you jot down extra things beside them, questions, comments, concerns, whatever the case may be, but please utilize these because this is what will help you to do things like complete your assignments, study for your tests, and whatnot. And so we want you to be successful. So there's a few tips that I have for you. So I'm going to switch my screen over so we can take a look at these notes. So we're starting off with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is our introductory unit, basically, and the title of this chapter is Organization of the Human Body. So we're just basically going to dive in, take a look at some terminology, body systems, lots of fun stuff like that as we dive into anatomy and physiology. So first off, just a really key point to make, the body's ability to maintain homeostasis really gives it tremendous healing power and remarkable resistance to abuse. So if you think back to biology, hopefully that term homeostasis kind of rings a bell. And if you think back to those word bites that we received in class, homeostasis is basically the body's ability to stay the same even when things are changing, both outside and inside of our bodies. So because of that, we're really able to put up with a lot, I guess you could say. And so when we take a look, the physiological processes responsible for helping maintain that homeostasis in our body are really responsible for our good health. And so when we're able to maintain homeostasis, that's going to allow us to be healthy individuals. And so when we take a look at this balance, two of the many factors associated with that balance called health are really going to be our environment and our behavior. So when we take a look at the environment, what do you surround yourself with? So thinking about, for example, the kind of environment that we live in. We're in South Dakota. We don't have a huge number of people, so we don't have to worry so much about air pollution that is prevalent in some highly populated areas. Some other things to consider about the environment and what you surround yourself with. Think about, for example, the air that you breathe. What's present in that air? We know that smoking is harmful to us, and so if you're surrounded by that a lot, it's going to definitely impact your lungs and other body structures. The other thing that it mentioned was your behavior. So the kinds of things that not only you do, but the things that you think about. It's really interesting how that all works, all those connections within our body and those systems. So your body's homeostasis really is affected by, like we talked about, the air we breathe, the foods you eat, and even by the thoughts you think. And I know that that might seem pretty, you might think, whoa, but it's really, really true how important your mindset is. And if you've been here at Central or even within the Rapid City Area School District in the past couple years, we've really talked about that importance of mindset and how when you think you can, you really can. And we'll talk about that more throughout the semester and the year in this class. So next up, we're going to take a look at, my slide's not changing, sorry, a few definitions. So when we take a look at anatomy and physiology, we really say that anatomy and physiology are the foundation for understanding the structures and the functions of the human body. So when you had the chance to choose this class, you didn't just choose anatomy or you didn't just choose physiology, because really we find that these two both go hand in hand. So when we look at anatomy and we take a look at those word bites, we say that ana means up and tomi means cutting. So anatomy is cutting up, or basically the science of taking a look at the structure and the relationship among those structures. And then on the other side of it, we've got physiology. So physio means nature and logi means study of. So when we talk about the study of nature, we're not talking about the trees and the plants and the birds, but we're taking a look at the science of the body functions, the nature of the body, how it works. And so that's pretty interesting when we get to take a look at both of those things. So can we take a look at it and say this is this and that's that? And then also can we say that this does this and that does that? So we really can understand the body best by studying both of those two parts together. And so when we take a look and dive deeper into the body, we see that each structure is really designed to carry out a particular function. Along with that structure of a part often determines the functions that it can perform. So as we take a look, a few questions for you to consider and think about. The basic difference between anatomy and physiology. So back up in your notes and take a look at what you had there for anatomy and physiology. So hopefully you see that, just like we talked about, anatomy is dealing with the structure, so labeling what everything is, and physiology is really looking at the function. This is what these different parts do. Number 2 says, give your own example of how the structure of a part of the body is related to its function. So kind of think a little bit about that. How is the structure of something within our body related to its function and what it does? So one example that I think about is breathing, especially now that we have to wear these masks, and it can make breathing a little bit difficult. So when we think about a structure that's really involved with breathing, we think about our lungs. Now, if you don't know this, it's okay, don't worry, but we build off of this information all the time. But we have 2 lungs in our body, and they are found underneath our rib cage or inside of our rib cage. And what happens is the lungs are able to expand, and they're kind of like a sponge where they can just soak in that air and then make sure that that air gets taken to our bloodstream so that we're able to function. And then the same way we breathe in and our lungs can expand, we can also breathe out and get rid of all that waste or carbon dioxide. And so how our lungs are built are to be able to expand and then go back to the deflated state, not completely deflated, but that's how we work so that we're able to get what we need to be able to function. And that's just one of many examples, but the human body, pretty amazing stuff. So as we continue on, we take a look at the levels of organization and body systems. And again, this is probably a review of what you've heard before in many science classes, whether that was biology or chemistry or today in anatomy and physiology. But when we take a look at the body and how it's organized, we basically see that there are several different levels, and we're going to say 6, and we're going to organize them from smallest to largest. And this is just for the human body. If you think back to biology, we went on all the way to the ecosystem, but we're stopping shorter because we're just looking at the human body. So what we say is we're going to start with chemical. So basically, we're taking a look at atoms and molecules and how those things build to make cells. So chemicals make up cells, cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems, or as it's listed here, systems. And then we take all those systems and we combine them, and that's what makes an organism, like you, me, and every other human being out there. So it's always nice to have pictures to go with things. So if you take a look, just like I went through that information, but having some pictures to go with it, We see those atoms that make up the molecules. So it has C, H, O, N, and P to represent carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus. And when we put those all together, we can make molecules. For example, the great molecule known as DNA that helps make us who we are. Then we take those molecules and we put them together, and that's how we're able to make cells. So in our body, we have trillions upon trillions of cells, and there's specific types that have specific jobs. So once again, our body is able to function. So we take those cells and we put a whole bunch of them together that do the same function, and that's what makes up a tissue. We take several different types of tissues and we put them together, and that's what makes up an organ. And as you can see, it went with some muscle tissue, smooth muscle tissue, and then that was putting that together to make up the muscle tissue that's found within the stomach. And then we take organs and we put them together, and that's how we make an organ system. So as you can see in this lovely picture, there's the organs involved with the digestive system. And we take all those organs and we put them together, and that's how we get an organism. Oh, amazing how that works. So when we take a look, it says which level of structural organization usually has a recognizable shape and is composed of two or more different types of tissues that have a specific function. It is not supposed to be showing you the answer, I'm sorry, but you probably already knew that that's what we call organs. Organs have a recognizable shape and consist of two or more different types of tissues that have a specific function. Whoop, whoop, good stuff. So when we take a look, we'll dive into these six different components a little bit deeper. So first off, we take a look at the chemical level, and that's where we have atoms. So atoms are the smallest units of matter that participate in chemical reactions. And you can see several of them are listed here. You've probably seen the periodic table before, so you've heard of these different structures before. But when we take a look, especially carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, those are some of the key components, but really essential for maintaining life. Anything that's in the whole wide world is made up of those atoms that we find on the periodic table, including us. So then we look at molecules. Molecules are two or more atoms joined together. And for example, we talked about that molecule like DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the genetic material that gets passed on from one generation to another. We also have hemoglobin, which is responsible for carrying oxygen in our blood, delivering that to all of our cells so they can get what they need. Glucose, something else that's very important, commonly known as sugar, and within our body, it's what makes up our blood sugar. And then also vitamins, which are really needed for a variety of chemical processes to take place. Once again, to keep us healthy and keep us kicking, able to do what we need to do. Moving up to the cellular level, we take all those different molecules and combine them to form cells. So cells are the basic structural and functional units of an organism, and cells contain specialized structures called organelles. And if you think back to biology, that probably rings a bell inside of your head. But all those structures that we learned about, like the nucleus, the mitochondria, and lysosomes, each of those organelles has a specific function to perform so that our body can once again have what it needs to keep on ticking. Then we move on to the tissue level. And so tissues are groups of cells and materials surrounding them that work together to perform a particular function. So you'll see in the next unit, we'll actually talk about the four different types of tissues found in our body. But we have epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. And we'll learn more about these specifics as we progress through this class. So videos can only be 15 minutes long, so I'm giving you a little breather, a little break. But when you're ready, click on the next link to watch the next video. Thanks, guys.